Like I mentioned in one of the previous lessons, I wanted to also talk about Google AdWords experiments, what they are, how to use them, and why to use them. Let me first quickly show you where you can find experiments. You just open this little sidebar, and under all experiments, you can find the current experiments that you have. In order to launch an experiment, you first need a campaign draft. A campaign draft is basically a campaign that you duplicate in order to change certain things. So we have to do a draft first. For this, we go back to all campaigns and we hit this black mask campaign that I just started, hit create new, call it black masks draft. So you can see the structure already. You have the original campaign, you turn this original campaign into a draft where you make certain changes, and then you run experiments comparing these both campaigns. So I just hit create, and now we're in the all drafts black masks draft window. Right here, I can do many different things. So these are the two ad groups that are found in my draft campaign. I could, for example, now check how the whole campaign would perform if I change my max default default max CPC to €2 instead of 1. When is a good time to do something like this? When is a good time to highly increase your your default bid? Well, let's quickly check columns, modify columns, and competitive metrics again, and add search impression share, search exact match impression share, and search lost impression share due to rank. And now if you here have very low numbers for search impression share and very high numbers for search lost impression share, this means that your ad rank is too low for your ads to appear. This could have various reasons, as I mentioned in the last lesson already. First of all, your expected click-through rate may be low, so the ad quality might be low. But the other reason is that your bid is too low. So if you're getting very few impressions, you should either make an experiment where you change your bid, or you just raise it. If you are getting like very few impressions, then you should raise it. But if you are getting low impressions but like good conversions or something like this, then you probably want to test it first with an experiment. So I go with €2 now, and I could apply the experiment. I could apply the draft and create the experiment. However, a very common thing to test within experiments are bidding strategies. So it's quite a big leap from going from manual CPC or enhanced CPC to target CPA. So one of the most common things that I actually split test with an experiment is the bidding strategy. Most of the time I actually, as long as I have enough conversions, target CPA typically works better. I'd say like in 70 or 80% of the cases, as long as I have enough conversions, target CPA works better than enhanced CPC or maximized clicks or manual CPC or something like this. But you always need to test it. I also had cases where target CPA works actually way worse. So this is one of the most typical things I split test. I type in the target CPA of 10 and, whoops, I didn't save it. Target CPA of 10. If we go now back to the ad group level, so if you go back to the campaign, there you see that the CPC bid was removed and replaced by the target CPA bid. Here you have, again, the draft status, drafted original campaign. You can view it right here. And now you can make all the changes that you want. Probably you want to add a lot of different negative keywords. Probably you want to create different ads. But in my opinion, this all doesn't make too much sense, because you can basically, you can also do this within the normal campaign. You can create different ad groups with different ads, or you can just create different ads. But for me, the most sense to run, or the most important aspects of running an experiment, is to test things that are campaign-wide. So in this case, not in this case, but in this case, changing the bid strategy. I will just hit apply, and I can either update your original campaign, which I don't want. I want to run an experiment. I will name this bidding strategy CPA experiment. And I'm a huge fan of getting very detailed in these kind of names, so they are always very long. But and now we can define the start date and end date. The question is, how big is your budget? Because if you create an experiment and you split the traffic 50-50, it means that your daily budget will be split among both campaigns. So if you have a $100 per day budget, both campaigns will get $50 per day budget. If you have a budget like this, so $100 per day, in this case, you do not need the campaign to run 1 month. So in this case, it would typically also be enough to run it like for 5 days or something like this. So this highly depends on your budget. If you are running on $10 per day or only, then 5 days is probably not enough to get relevant data, because obviously you need enough impressions, you need enough clicks, you need enough conversions to really compare them. Um, it really depends on your budget. I'd say that you need to at least spend a few $100s to run an actually successful experiment. So I will just run this one for 5 days, and let's assume that I would spend like $100 a day or $200 a day on this. And now we are in the experiment view. So if we go right here, we can see the bidding strategy CPA experiment. I can also change the name and everything. And now select the draft campaign to run an experiment. You can click on an experiment to monitor its performance. All right, so the thing is now that the campaign will be created right here. Of course, in this demo lesson, we don't have any data, but probably I will also include one of my actually running campaigns and show you how it looks like. It's not that you really need to see it in order to understand it, because it's very self-explanatory, but I think it will be nice for you to see how an actual campaign looks like. The great thing about Google campaigns, about AdWords campaigns, is that AdWords is already showing you which kind of data is statistically significant. So if you think about it, and we have it at scheduled, I think if I run it right now, then you can probably see already what I mean. So I will just put it to 4th. And well, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I will just show you later on. But the great thing about the AdWords experiments are that AdWords basically shows which data is statistically relevant. So if the campaign is fully running now, and like I said, if it doesn't happen, then I will show you another time, you see the number of clicks of both campaigns, the number of impressions, the number of conversions, and so on. And AdWords puts arrows besides them and tells you, okay, this metric is statistically relevant. This isn't, this is, this isn't. So based on this data and on this information, you can decide which campaign to continue with. And like I said, most of the time, actually Target CPA works better if your account is a little bit older or has a little bit of conversion data. But of course, it always comes down to the individual case. So I hope that you like this little video about experiments. I hope that you will try experiments yourself, since it's a very powerful feature. And if you have any questions, again, put them in the Facebook comments, and see you in the next lesson, guys.